Hello, Karin.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
We are recording in Paris.
Yeah.
This is a special episode, actually, because it's the first episode I record in Paris. Actually, I reached out to you a long time ago, and actually we reconnected.
Yeah.
And you happened to be in Paris at the same time as me, so we thought let's do it in Paris. So Karin, you're the founder of Futurist Lab, an education firm that shapes the future of work for a new generations of entrepreneurs, creators, and slashers. We'll explain that word a little bit later because I'm sure not everybody knows what a slasher is. But you're also the co-founder of GenieFriends, real life social platforms that connects people over sacred dinners. So you operate in APAC, including also Sydney,
Yep.
right? Europe, so London mostly.
London mostly.
Yeah. And America, San Francisco.
San Francisco and Vancouver.
Okay. And but the main markets are Hong Kong, Singapore, and Taiwan. So I like to start deep, straight in.
I like that.
So from learning about yourself, from reading about you online or talking to you on the phone, what stands out is that the few words that stands out is next generation, training, coaching, education. So I'm curious to know, you seem to have an interest in transmitting things to people, whether it's by connecting with them over a dinner or coaching them, or, it's all about education and sharing with people. So where does that come from?
I feel like it's a cool moment that we got to know each other in Hong Kong, and then now we're in your hometown in Paris. And this part actually goes back to my childhood. My dad was a Chinese doctor.
Okay.
So the interesting part of how he did his business was that he literally merged the clinic and a home into one apartment. So basically our living room would be like having like patients and then having a huge blackboard in the living room. So he would be like showing his cool things that he learned from Chinese medicine. And then at the same time, we as kids, we got to like hang out in the living room and then always like drawing on it. So usually like kids would be like drawing on walls and then like paper. But since a young age, I got to draw on blackboard. Then you will be like dreaming to become like a teacher and then like a professional like your dad, and then always like teaching people and then interacting with people. I guess maybe my interest in people and also like training, coaching started from there.
Oh, that's interesting. I love when it's, it ties back to your childhood.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things happen at that moment, and if you still aligned with yourself, I guess you make more space for this to happen and to really listen to what deeply interests you. Okay, but I guess it's different from when you connect with people, like for example what we're doing now or the GenieFriends. It's different from coaching some people, but in a way there's a common base to all of that.
Yeah. So I also looked back to my journey. So people would be asking also why you started this kind of like hosting dinners and then like talking with different people as kind of like events. But then it also like goes back to my root in training and coaching. So I mentioned that when I was like a little kid, I always hang out with my dad's patients. So it's like all the adults in the living room. But even in coaching, in training, I was always like with people. But then I feel like that setting is a little bit different. So say in training and coaching, you are more like a one-way interaction with all your students, clients, and then your
Yeah.
audience. I love that learning part. I love like transmitting and transferring knowledge to them. But at one point I was like, oh, so there shouldn't be only one-way education. When you learn, you always like pick up wisdom and knowledge from other people. Then I'm like, oh, at first I wanted to build like a knowledge platform at
Okay.
Futurist Lab. So it's like you get to meet other people, either it's like a professional network that you exchange knowledge or you get coaching from each other. But then it just like translated into a different format
Okay.
at GenieFriends. So I was like, oh, if people get to meet new friends and then brainstorm new ideas and then talk about like inspirations and then learning from each other, inside those conversations is always like wisdom and learnings that you
Yeah.
don't get it in classroom settings. You don't
Yeah.
get it in
Yeah.
training room. And that is not even like textbook knowledge. It's always like your life experience and then the mistakes that you made and also like things that you can't even like talk on public stage or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
inside a book. Yeah, so from that part, it becomes more like multi-way, more like a two-way conversations from
Okay.
all the dinner guests.
But how did it start? How did GenieFriends start? Like, I understand how you came to that idea, but you started with a co-founder, I think.
Yeah.
So how did this start?
It was like accidental moment. I feel like
Oh.
people talk about all the startups are like, oh, you have this amazing business idea, and then you have an amazing pitch, and then you believe in the whole ecosystem so much that you did all the business research. But then I don't think a lot of like the real startups started that way. So at first it was really like solving our own pain point. So I was like a solopreneur when I started Futurist Lab. And then my co-founder back then, he was like exploring new ideas, new projects. So we came together and then talk about ideas and then the latest trend in technology all the time. And then at one point we were like, so why do we only like talk to each other about that? I believe other people would also be interested in that as well. So we just thought about like building a community for ourselves and then for other people. And then we landed on the format of secret dinner as because of all my inspirations back in Paris. So we can talk about that later on as well. So we hosted the first dinner, only like 12 guests, mainly like friends of friends. So we invited them to come and then we analyzed and studied the profiles back then.
Okay.
And then it's kind of like group tables and then discussion based on their profiles. And then hoping that they would be able to exchange their ideas and then learnings and then especially like what they are working on lately, how we can help them as a community. So at first it was for very like organic.
Okay. If you wanted to, like the initial conversation you had, and you thought, that could be interesting to other people, and then you started organizing this very first dinner. But what about, I don't know, you could have started a podcast back then, you know?
Yeah. I think even for podcasts, it's mainly like me and another guest.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
similar to what
Okay,
you
get
do
it.
now.
Yeah.
So it's like the conversation between you and another person, and then you have a wider audience.
Okay.
But I love seeing people getting together.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, if I create a space, a platform that people get to meet each other,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then those conversations take place in a situation that I can witness to, then
Yeah.
I love those.
Okay.
I love like seeing people like talking about ideas, and then at the same time they know that there are people that they can trust in their environment. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then from that very first dinner, how did it grow? Because now you're operating in many different places.
Yeah.
So how did
Yeah.
it go after that?
So fast forward, it's more than 3 years now. The first dinner started with 12 guests, and then now
Okay.
we're operating in 12 cities. So after the first dinner, it also like caught me by surprise because we only wanted to create a community and then hosting them at dinner format. But then the response and feedback went so well. So we invited them to another one, and then word of mouth kind of like got
Yeah.
out. And then people would be bringing their friends, and then people would be asking how they can join. So it started from like a monthly gathering to now it's more like weekly and then hosting in multiple cities too. So yeah.
And what exactly is the business model of this company?
Good question. It's not like business secret, but then our main revenue stream is event tickets. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's simple. So
Okay.
if you're interested to join, and then you join a waitlist, and
Okay.
then we screen the profiles, and then we send you an invite, and there will be
Okay.
like an event ticket for the secret dinners.
Okay. And do you partner with restaurants?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
a smart one. So as we grow and scale, we get to guarantee certain size with the restaurants. So I love that as well because I came from a hotel school background. Then I love working at restaurants and the kitchens and then seeing all the behind the scene. I have huge respect for those who are in hospitality and then F&B. So when we first started, it was actually like a perfect timing after COVID. So during COVID, we already kind of like wanted to start the community, but then it always went to like online forums, and then it didn't stick. And when COVID restrictions were like lifted in Hong Kong, we started the first dinner. And then people were like, oh, I need to come out, I need a social life, I need to like go
Yeah.
back to offline settings to meet other
Yeah.
people as well. So that's how it took off. But back then, it's also because the F&B landscape were like not doing well in Hong Kong
yeah.
and in Asia, in the world in general as well. So I feel like it's two opportunities meeting
Okay.
together.
Okay.
So in one hand, on the demand side, people are craving for in real life experience and connections and events. They want to meet people. They're ready again.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, there is like the supply side, I would say. So the restaurant side, they need people to come back.
Yeah.
Because people are used to like working from home,
Yeah.
eating at home.
Ordering food.
Yes, and then the business on the restaurant side is not doing well. So
Okay,
we get
yeah.
to like merge them together with the demand and supply. So a lot of restaurants are willing to work with us too as partners. And then to also like, we are actually the sales and marketing partner, if you can imagine. Because we don't tell our guests where to go and who to meet
Yeah.
for secret dinners. So basically everything is a surprise. And you can just like allocate them to whatever that is on
Yeah.
your curated list. That also helps with the restaurant on their like demand projection and then how to guarantee the revenue. And then if you're a new one, then you have guests coming in. If they like it, they will definitely like bring their friends back as returning guests.
So throughout your experience, also with Futurist Lab, we can say you're a serial entrepreneur. If you look back, this grew over the years, but was there a time you were wrong, or was there a time you made the wrong decisions and then you reflected on it and you maybe changed, like made you had to make another decision to kind of keep up the business growing?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a serial entrepreneur yet. Usually people who can claim it as like they made it. So they already like have a long-standing business.
What does it mean made it?
Oh,
They
that is
have made
another
it.
good question too. I feel like you have a long-standing company.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you've built something significant and then making significant impact with your business. Then it's like you made it there. To me, it's not only about the revenue and the numbers. It's like about the scale and then impact that you are making, whether it's on your users, your customers, or even for me, like in Futurist Lab as like the students and the clients that I'm like coaching and then training. So yeah, that is a good one.
But then what would you need to reach that goal? Like, I made it.
I don't know yet. I don't have the answer yet.
Or maybe it's a thing like you still picture it like this stage is I made it, but then when you reach it, it's still up, up, and actually it kind of drives you in a way because you feel like, oh no, but actually that's not it. I need to go higher. And maybe people that we would say they made it, maybe they would think, oh no, I haven't made it. I'm still learning and and I think that's the beauty of it as well.
Yeah, you're always like growing and then reaching another stage or even like a wider vision. Yeah, so I've built like two businesses. One as an education coaching firm, another one as more like a tech startup and in real life social platform. So from both firms, I actually didn't have any like qualification for it, I would say. So one mistakes that I would make in the past is like trying to fit in the startup mode or trying to fit into others' expectation. Say you need to build a business, and then did you have all those like certificates that you need as a trainer, as a coach? And then if you need to build a tech startup, do you have any like big tech background? Did you like work at a startup? I didn't have any like the big tech names on my resume. I didn't have like, people would say like ex-Uber, ex-Google, ex maybe like Microsoft on the resume before they found something. I didn't have those. Then I think at one point it's like people would question you. And also I would question myself, oh, do I have what it takes to reach like
credibility
and also like the tools that you have to build it. Do you have enough tools? Do you know enough like startup frameworks? You have so many like startup books telling you like different things. But then I think throughout the past 4 or 5 years that I've been like building too, that I realized you first as like no rules as the rule in the startup world. You can't apply every framework to yourself. It doesn't apply at all sometimes. Maybe you're like doing marketing and then you also know like there is like SEO, pay ads, like so many different kinds of things that you can do for marketing. But then I learned in my process that my way of marketing and growth hacking is completely different. I have to like stay true to myself. Say I came from hospitality background, I came from training background. So I understand human psychology more than other people. So I would be like thinking in my say marketing campaigns or like growth hacking tactics, what would make people like pay attention? So what would make them like talk about you? Even like without you asking them. So people would be like, hey, you go to a restaurant, then you have like a stand here. If you take a photo and then post it online and then tag our restaurant, then we will give you a voucher and then we'll give you a free dessert. It's usually like a very transactional marketing way. That is not my style. But then for me, I love like hacking what people would think in their heart. So I would be like, oh, cool. So if people love experiences, if people love sharing with their friends, first your product and experience has to be amazing, that they enjoyed it. And then it also gives you some sort of like exclusivity. And then it's because of the exclusive vibe that we made with the secret dinner, the branding, the invite only mechanism, and then all our menu stationaries are like more Instagrammable. Then you get the UGC and the word of mouth like in a very organic way. We didn't spend any like pay that advertisement money.
Okay.
So that is like another way that I learned, oh, maybe this is my way. I didn't know the data-driven and the marketing campaign side. I couldn't do like paid ads.
You did it your way.
Yeah, I did it my way. So
Yeah.
it also worked in my way. So
Okay.
I feel like every founder has to figure out their way, their models, and then their toolkit who are like based on their history.
I think it's back to what we were saying earlier, back to transmitting and, having a two-way conversations. It's like you're putting things out there, and actually you're sharing, what's important to you, your values, and you shape your business the way you want, and people just give it back to you by sharing UGC, user-generated content, for people who don't know. And
if you're a marketer, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know if everyone is a marketer. So now I think if you have listened to a few episodes of this podcast, you may not be surprised, but there's a fireside for you. So quick questions, 5 questions. You answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. So no tricky questions, easy.
I love that because you didn't even give me the question list
Yeah,
for this
no,
part.
I keep it to myself every
It
time.
comes as a surprise.
Because otherwise, if I share it before, then you have time to think.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
I like that.
Okay,
Cool.
you ready?
Yeah.
So, your favorite place in the world?
Paris.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like this place has so many memories to me. I came here like more than 10 years ago, and then it was like a study time, and then it kind of like opened up my world. That was like my first time living abroad. My city that I studied in France was La Rochelle, but I came to Paris almost like every month, and then I have Parisian friends. And it also like gave me the inspirations of like starting Secret Dinner. I first heard about this concept here.
Okay.
So yeah, Paris.
Cool. The moment you felt incredible, like strong, incredible, you felt like, yes, I feel good.
I feel like it's usually at parties when I'm surrounded by my friends. I have a really supportive ecosystem around me, whether I'm in Hong Kong, in Singapore, or even in Europe now. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. The last the last expensive purchase you made.
That one is a difficult one. I heard about that in another episode of yours. I can't really recall that. I feel like either as a trip, maybe as this trip too. I'm spending like 5 weeks in Europe after being sick in mid-March. So I feel like this trip is like a gift to myself as a healing trip to reflect and reset, and then to also understand what kind of person I am, and then what do I want to build in a sustainable way in the future.
Okay.
So usually it's like travel experiences if I can think of.
That's an unexpected answer.
Yeah,
think
okay.
it's
So
a
people
good
usually
one.
say like a wash and
Yeah,
accessory
or-
apartment. I don't know how.
Yeah, someone said an apartment. I'm like, yes, that's definitely very expensive. An apartment in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
so even more
exactly.
expensive. The comfort food you love.
Oh, I have comfort drink, not really comfort food.
Okay.
Usually it's like chai latte, matcha latte. Warm drinks.
Yeah. And last question, a book, podcast, series, or movie you would recommend?
I would recommend my new book that I'm reading. It's called The Next Day by
The Next Day.
Linda Gates.
Okay.
So people might know she recently got a divorce with Bill Gates, and then also left the foundation that she poured years
Okay.
into. And then, but that book is very comforting as I reading it. It's like you definitely have many transitions in life, whether you are like going to school, leaving your hometown, and then starting a business, or like maybe in relational like transitions. So I feel like that one is like a very comforting one to give you strength as
Okay.
you're going through transitions.
Oh, that's a good one. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Okay, that's it. I think that was easy, right?
Yeah, that's cool. Oh,
Okay,
Yeah.
so you briefly talked about when you said this healing trip. So you briefly talked about, health, mental health, and I saw a LinkedIn post that you shared recently. So we don't have to go into much detail about your health, but you had health issues, let's say, let's
yeah.
put it like that.
Yeah. Like I got sick.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
because from what you said on the post, because you didn't take a break. So I relate here because, well, I don't have health issues. I touch wood, but it's difficult for me to take breaks and to really disconnect sometimes and just do nothing. And when you have your business, you tend to work
Extra hard.
way too much. Yeah, and
Especially
you
that's
never
your
stop. Yeah, of course. So where are you at with your mental health and self-discipline? Because actually I think you need self-discipline to take breaks.
Okay, yeah, true. I feel like people don't talk about that enough, whether it's your physical health or mental health for founders and entrepreneurs. Yeah, people might talk about it at workplace, like if you are taking a corporate life, that you need to have your work-life balance. But then
Yeah.
in the startup world, it's always like, as usual for a founder not to take one day off in 3 years of building. And then you're expected to like work 10, 12 hours a day, and then it's like basically 7 days in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized that people worship that kind of hustle culture, but I don't know whether it's because of a very short-sighted perspective, more like short-term thinking, because you need to fundraise in the next year or two,
Yeah.
and then you need to make the headlines. You need to make the fundraising like pressure, and then you need to build it kind of like within 4 to 5 years. You need to hit a huge milestone. So in that case, everything is like a sprint. You're not thinking about the long term, like whether it's life or like a startup as a marathon. So
Yeah.
looking back then, I also believe that it's like whether we are going fast enough, whether we are maximizing all our resources in the wrong way, and then can we build this in 1 month? Can we do that in like next 3 months? Can we hit another milestone in 6 months? So if looking back, if I'm thinking that way, that would definitely take a whole toll on your physical health.
Yeah.
So it's not that I didn't take holiday, but then I also realized that it's for the self-discipline part that I would always take care of other people first. So it's like whether your community, your customers, your clients, your team, your investors, your family, your friends, and then everybody was like before you. And then
But if there's no you, there's no
Yeah.
business.
it's true. And then now I learned after my sickness, it's like your physical health can literally like take you out from
Yeah.
the whole game. So it's not that I wanted to have it. No one wanted to be sick. But then if you're violating any law of the physics or like the physical world, our mental health and then like physical health is part of it. It's like how the natural world works. So if you violate that long enough, it will come back at a
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah.
Then that is like 2 months, 3 months that I cannot imagine. That is like, oh, I need to be forced to take a break. Then there is no like runway or like opportunities or like whether you can do a sprint pace, that kind of startup. Then I learned that, oh wow, then if that is the case, can I build it in a sustainable way?
Okay.
Then I'm even like still practicing and learning now. just to say no.
Yeah.
Because usually for people who can take on a lot of responsibilities and then attend to everybody else, they are not that aware to the needs and limitations of our physical and mental health.
Yeah.
So I have to like be extra aware of that now, that before my energy was like completely drained, I need to say no or like postpone some commitment, and then I don't say yes to everything, and then now I feel like that takes like self-discipline.
Yes.
And then your, I don't know what to say, like mental muscles, and then like your muscle to train yourself to just say no, and then being comfortable about it.
Yeah. I think it's a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of, I relate to what you say, and I feel like either saying no to, clients. I mean, we love our clients, but sometimes they're like, they always ask for more with the same budget. So you have to say no at some point, or just say yes, but there's a consequence to that. Or very simply saying no to just to preserve yourself, like a friend, for example, inviting me for a drink, and sometimes I just say no, not because I don't want to see that person, but just because I need that me time and need to just sometimes just do nothing, and just sit down and be like, just relax and empty your mind, or and there are these days you just don't need to see people, you just need to rest. It's difficult to say no and to explain, but actually now I kind of feel more comfortable saying no and saying I work a lot and I need to rest, so let's do something next week or whatever. And actually
That's
people
true.
you'd be surprised because they're so understanding. They understand.
It is. I feel like it's also like that two-way conversation, whether it's with your clients or with your friends and family, that if they throw out one question and then one request, and then we feel like we need to say yes to it right away. But then if we are also like taking ourselves as a person, like our best friend, then we will show the same level of respect and care to ourselves too. So now I would literally like write down on my calendar.
Okay.
I block 2 hours. This is my me time. And then I block 2 or 3 hours. This is my do nothing time.
Okay.
And then if we put that in, that means there is like a priority there. Then I won't just like say yes to any other appointments or engagement that maybe my friend is like inviting me to a huge like social party. Maybe another client is asking you that, can you get back to me on this proposal like by this and then. You need to plan your time and energy around it. And then if we break down, no one else is there to do it.
Exactly.
And then you can't pour from an empty cup as well. So I realized that by taking good care of myself, it allows me to treat my clients, treat my friends better.
In the intro, we mentioned the word slasher. So can you say very quickly for our listeners who don't know what this is?
A slasher would be someone who has polygamous career. By that, it means that you don't only have a 9-to-5 job. You don't only have a full-time role, maybe as a founder, as a CEO, as a social worker. You also have other parts in your life that you combine together to form your own life.
Do you think this would be the future of work? And do you think this is, having like being a lawyer, for example, and I met someone like at the gym the other day, and she's a lawyer, but she has let's say a side gig, and she has a swimsuit brand with her friends.
Oh.
So it's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's like you your identity is not your job. Well, it can be
exactly.
for some people, but it's not. You're not a lawyer. You are a person who is a lawyer and also an entrepreneur and with a swimsuit brand,
Yeah.
And I think it's just a way to define yourself as more than just one thing. So do you think this is something that will be even more common in the future? It still is, but
Yeah, I feel like the world is evolving, especially in the era of AI. And
Yeah.
then people say like AI agents are coming, a lot of automations are gonna like replace your roles, replace your job. But I feel like it already like happened at least 10 years ago, even with the term like slasher and then polygamous career. It's because I think that your job shouldn't be your identity.
Yeah.
Like what you said.
Yeah.
Your identity shouldn't be tied to your job title, your role, and then only be defined by a 9 to 5 job. You can have like so many phases of yourself.
Yeah.
Say if you're a florist, you're a lawyer, you can also be a chef, you can be an artist.
Yeah.
So because of how companies work these days, say my friend would be having like a remote job. And then it's kind of like hybrid model that you only need to go to your office 2 days in a week.
Yeah.
Then you can have your time and task management to finish everything within the whole 5 days or like the remaining 3 days that you're working at home. Then I feel like people have more space. Also because of the AI automation, then for the mundane tasks that doesn't need your creativity, doesn't need your humanity in it, it's gonna be replaced by AI and robots. Then it unleashes more time and space for yourself to discover something that AI cannot do.
Yeah.
Say, for example, your friend who is starting a swimsuit brand. Yeah, it takes a lot of work to start a brand and as a founder. Say she's wearing a hat as a lawyer in the day job, but then after the work hours and then on the weekend, maybe there would be like her creative pursuit, another side of her that she is passionate about. It can be like fashion design, going into production, and then doing retail, talking to customers. So I feel like there are so many areas in our lives that we get to explore just because of the privilege and days that we are living in now. So I feel like definitely that would become like I would say future of work.
Yeah.
That people get to design their life and then choose whatever models and then whatever kinds of jobs that they can take as their portfolio career.
But where do you think this comes from? Is it a generation thing, or is it also maybe just the logical continuation of, the corporate world is in a way reassuring, but also there's a lot of things that aren't right about it. So do you think it's about that, or is it about also social media, for example? They have a lot of they changed so many things in terms of mindsets and the way we live as well, the way we connect with one another. So do you think this is also related to, I don't know, maybe the crisis, the economical crisis? People need to have a side gig to, be more comfortable. I guess it's a multi-factor thing.
Yeah. I think it's a generation thing. And also because of the shift in the world, because of technological advancement. Say in the past, I would say the workforce is more like a labor workforce, say industrial age, that people go to work, they will need to go to a factory. They will need to be hands-on, or maybe you are going to a restaurant and then you are going to a repair shop. Everything needs to be hands-on in that way.
Yeah.
So it shapes a kind of work that you can only take full time because you need to be there physically full time. But then now fast forward because of the technology age, then we are going into a knowledge workforce. So your job, what it requires you is more like your knowledge, your expertise, your technical skills. Then also because of COVID, now you can work from anywhere. People learn that, oh, you don't need to stay at an office. You can, just like us, we can work in Paris. We can bring our laptop to work in maybe like Bali, we can work in the US. And then as long as you have your devices and tools with you, then a lot of our work these days are really about our knowledge and expertise. It's not about whether we can be there physically. So I feel like as these two kinds of shift, that our work environment allows us to do that because of our knowledge instead of our physical capability, and also because of the technology shift that we can do our work with our iPhone, with our iPad, with our laptops, anywhere and anytime.
So regarding both of your businesses, do you have any upcoming plans, upcoming exciting projects?
I feel like I'm still exploring that in my Europe trip now. And then one thing that I learned that I'm gaining more interest is not only connecting people to new people, but then how to maintain your existing relationships, the people that you know, that you love in a deeper level. So that could be something like a new feature, a new product. And at the same time, I'm always interested in people's stories like you do. But I love those. So I don't know whether I would write about dinner stories or like guest stories, and then with different cultures and then different kinds of like walks of life.
So this is a very kind of an introspective journey for you. And
I feel like everything we build always comes as an extension of who we are. So say our work is not our identity, but as an extension. So it's only a part of us. And then for whatever kind of like projects, work that you're doing, it delivers that kind of DNA that we carry. So say from the question one that you asked about my inspiration and why I had that kind of interest, it goes back to my childhood. And then even for Secret Dinner as a concept, it goes back to my university days, my days in France. So here and there, I believe everything that we create, it comes down as an extension of what we carry and then what our life story has been.
Yeah, very true. Well, I hope this trip will be fruitful for you and that you will go back to Hong Kong with ideas or maybe a clear mind, you know, clear view on things. So this is the last question. This is the signature question of the podcast. I ask it to all my guests. So I'm talking to the entrepreneur. Do you have any lessons that you learned throughout your journey and that you would like to share with fellow entrepreneurs?
The first one is you need to be your biggest cheerleader. You believe in yourself even if nobody believes in you. Then a founder's journey is more like a self-awareness journey for yourself. Definitely there are problems and pain points that you want to solve in the world. It has to, when you build a product, you build a business, it goes back to the customers. It's not about you, it's about them. But then why do you want to solve that problem for them? And then what kind of tools and then skill sets that you have in every year in the past of your life that can contribute to that part. Just like believe that you have the enough toolkits and then go for it.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing.
It's a lovely chat with you in Paris.
Yeah. Honestly, first episode of ABO in Paris. I will remember this.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And this apartment is so cute.
The Parisian apartment.
Yeah.
Airbnb is actually my inspiration too.
Yeah?
I look up to Brian Chesky. He didn't fit into the startup technical founder mode. He is a designer founder. So, and then he built that as a network of trust.
Yeah.
It's like building the bridge and the trust between people again. Who can imagine I can stay at a stranger's home in Paris? And it's like beautiful. It's such a different kinds of like travel experience.
Yeah.
So I already like studied them since my hotel days. I'm like, wow, there are like major hotel chains in the world, but then you like a startup idea, you become a unicorn, and then your valuation is more than Marriott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
In Paris.